Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to the WTF show with me, Alexoni Nick Alvia, and the beautiful, gorgeous Tiana Khalid. How is everyone today?
Good, very good, actually. There's so much happening right now. So excited to be on with you guys today.
Going on.
So much. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. It's good.
Yeah. Thank you for being.
Of course. I mean, your wish is my command, Alpa. Yeah, there's so much happening, and it's all happening at the same time, which is it's a lot to take in, right? There's like each news cycle isn't getting enough coverage because by the time we've finished analyzing that, there's something else that comes in, and it's just a lot right now. But did you guys hear, like, this is something I read about today, but did you guys hear that Russia is now actually accepting payments in rubles for gas deliveries for apparently unfriendly countries, which obviously include the EU? And you know, after Moscow was obviously hit by all these unprecedented sanctions all over Ukraine, immediately after this announcement, the ruble, which has plummeted, I think, since the start of the Ukraine-Russia conflict, has like strengthened against the dollar and the euro, which is crazy because gas prices are rising. But did you guys hear about this today? Because I don't know if I'm late to the game or this happened just recently.
No, I didn't hear about that, but it's evident because the dollar, the petrodollar, it has collapsed, is going bye-bye, if not already at 100%. So that's big news.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. Just before we get into the actual subject of Russia and Ukraine, I thought it would be nice to start the show because this video went viral, everybody. And just before I play it, I just like to welcome everybody that's on here across all the platforms, on Facebook, on Nick's channel now. We've got this live on Nick's new YouTube channel and mine. My backup has had a strike because of Jason and Nick. Naughty.
Oops.
Yeah, they went wild. So thank you wherever you're joining from, if it's Nick's, my channel, or on Facebook, thank you. But I thought it'd be a nice idea to show everybody this wonderful video that our darling Tiana had put together. She articulates herself very well on the subject of Ukraine, and it's really helped educate so many people. So much so that my ex-business partner came and showed it to me, and I was like, that's Tiana. So if you don't mind, guys, let me just play this just one.
Okay. How many countries has America invaded since the Second World War? America has been in 19 wars since World War II. The death toll from modern American wars killed in the name of freedom is over 20 million and counting. They have overthrown 36 governments, attempted to assassinate over 50 foreign leaders, and dropped bombs on people in over 30 countries. Syria was the latest of 14 countries in the Islamic world that US forces have invaded, occupied, or bombed. But you believe your American media when they say Putin is a crazy warmongering dictator. Is your self-righteous indignation based on an understanding of basic history, or just triggered by the next new bandwagon that is trending on mainstream media? 90% of these deaths are ordinary men, women, and children. They started the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War. In the last 60 years or so, the list of countries the US invaded includes Bosnia, Cambodia, the Congo, Cuba, El Salvador, Guatemala, Indonesia. There's been wars in Iraq, wars in Afghanistan, wars in Syria, Central America. They are the global bullies, destroying any country in the name of democracy and human rights. But the intention has always been to strip the nation of its resources and enrich their military-industrial complex. Now, what about Britain? Did you know that there are only 22 countries in the world that the UK have not invaded or helped in starting a war? The hypocrisy of the West is an abomination. Where was the sanctimonious outrage when Israeli armed forces bombed and shot Palestinian children armed with nothing but stones? Where was the sense of injustice when George Bush and Tony Blair invaded Iraq? Even after the UN weapons inspector Hans Blix visited Iraq and confirmed that there were no weapons of mass destruction. What a coincidence that Mr. Blix was found dead from suicide. Do any of you actually know Ukraine is not even a sovereign country? The state of Ukraine does not exist. If people just stopped and educated themselves before flinging themselves into a frenzy of indignant theatrics all over social media, they would discover that in 2014, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon stated that since December 1991, Ukraine has not registered its borders as an independent country. Ukraine is still under the territory of Russia, and everything that happens in this area is in fact an internal matter of Russia. And as far as Putin is concerned, there is no invasion. But now suddenly you're all Ukrainian. You all stand with George Soros, Hillary Clinton, and Marina Abramovich. Everyone is so used to instant news, like instant coffee and instant noodles or instant text messages, you don't have the patience to step back, to query the historical context of present-day events, to educate yourself on an intricate and complicated ancient conflict. So my question is, when everyone starts shouting on the rooftops that today they stand with Ukraine, do they realize that they're actually standing with Russia?
All back. That was brilliant.
I don't think I can ever get used to listening to myself. I hate it. God, it just sounds so different.
I feel the same. That was brilliant. You put that together, and I actually didn't. There's a lot of things in there that, you know, educated us all.
I think it was really hard to find information though, because I think all of us were sort of relying on DuckDuckGo as one of the main alternative search engines, and now they've come out and said that they're going to censor certain topics that are to do with Russian propaganda, anything that, you know, puts Russia in any sort of good light to the people. They've completely censored. So yeah. There goes DuckDuckGo.
That's how you know it's true. Albert, can you see if your mic is connected correctly?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but maybe move it to more of an angle, and
Is that better?
Angle it at you for sure.
I get this wrong all the time from day one. I've still got the same mic that I bought like in 2020. You can see that I'm a techno-tard. Thanks for that.
It's fine, I can hear you really well. Yeah. So.
Yeah, where were we?
Yeah, we were talking about the petrodollar. I mean, obviously, it's really interesting because, like Nick said, this means that the petrodollar is losing its power as the world reserve currency. So, I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to come out and say it. Like, I really think Putin is a genius because he's now insulated Russia from inflation due to Biden's, never-ending money printing. But it really is a game changer what he's done and what he's asked all these European countries to do, because Russia, if potentially with Saudi Arabia, India, and China, with all of them on board, it really does mean the end of the Federal Reserve and its whole system. And, most people aren't even aware that Russia is now actually the largest owner of gold. I actually found that today. Didn't know that.
Wasn't the Federal Reserve taken down in like March 2020?
Yeah. I mean, apparently it was taken down, but I think
it's not known to the public. But when we started this whole pandemonium, this started back in 2020 in March, if I remember correctly, and
it makes
Trump
sense.
took over the Federal Reserve. So essentially,
they started everything after that, everything that they started to enforce, and that made them so much money. So I think when they realized their infinite supply was no longer, they just went and found it from the entire world. They just took it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is I'm pretty sure they did dissolve the Federal Reserve when we first heard about it, but it's possible that this is going to be the mainstream narrative, that people are going to realize this is how the Fed went down, rather than, the story that we know of how it possibly did actually happen. But
isn't that with everything?
Yeah, that's true. Very true. I mean,
look what's happening with the Clintons.
I can't keep up with Hillary Clinton these days. Her tweets are just wild.
She's got COVID.
She's got COVID. Who else got COVID? Obama's got COVID.
That means that they have taken a deal, quite possibly, if the comms are correct. We've been informed what it all means. Why put it on Twitter like that? And why speak for Bill too? She spoke for Bill. Like, why isn't Bill tweeting himself? there's some weirdness. And then, yeah, so that means they accepted a deal, and it could very well be that they're dead and they have to slowly roll it out to the public.
Yeah.
Somehow.
It's very strange that they've all caught COVID at a time when no one's catching COVID. It's just them four.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's good for something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
But it's so interesting that it's all at the same time. And I don't know why Hillary Clinton's looking for movie recommendations from the public. What does she think people are going to give her? Like, what sort of movies is she expecting that people are going to recommend?
Did you see that post?
I saw that one. I posted it from Nick. I saw it. I couldn't stop laughing. It's hilarious. Oh my God. But you guys, what are your thoughts on the fact that there's a lot of speculation about whether the Putin we see on television is actually the original Putin? Because the original was said to have been a criminal gangster. And according to members of the Russian government, he would actually kill anyone who got in his way. And people were really scared of him. And everyone lived in fear of their lives with the real Putin, because Russian officials actually got together and filed charges against Putin for all the murders he'd committed. But I've heard that Putin was swiftly executed in December 2011 for crimes against humanity and extreme torture of his victims.
Yeah, I had this.
Right?
That is crazy. That sounds awesome. It sounds possible. When you look at pictures of pre and post Putin at some certain space, it looks like his face just gets way fuller. You don't have those sunken eyes that he used to have. Yeah. He looked evil in a way that Joe Biden used to look evil. Yeah. And this one that we see now seems a lot softer, probably by design.
And this is why there's so much general hatred towards Putin for the past.
That's true.
Try and convince your friends, and there's just this vitriol against Putin. So they think that we're crazy, if we even sort of show any kind of support towards Putin. And the comments are in the comment section. People are saying, "Is it the real one? Is it not?" Saying the same thing as you, Tiana. So it's all speculative at the moment. That's what we're merely doing. We're trying to put together, in-depth research and trying to come to some kind of draw some conclusions with what's going on in this theatrics that we're witnessing globally.
Oh yeah.
There's, a video of Mrs. Putin, I don't know her first name, but claiming that the new Putin was not her husband, and that he was actually removed from their home one night in 2010 by Russian officials, and he was never seen by her again, because after a few weeks had passed, they brought an entirely different man to their home, and the military actually told her that this is not her husband, and it was already obvious to her by when he got there. But she says that, I don't know, I read this and I don't know how true it is, but it makes sense. Like, she eventually worked up the nerve to tell him that she wanted a divorce because she wasn't going to be married to a complete stranger. And then Mrs. Putin apparently stated that he agreed by saying he was relieved he was not, because he wasn't really attracted to her. And the Putin, they suddenly divorced. There's actually not a lot of information about this, but apparently they just suddenly divorced, and not long after Putin was actually replaced. But I think she fled the country or something with her two daughters. They had two kids together. And then Putin 2.0 started dating someone much younger. Because if you look at pictures of Putin and his wife, she looks completely different to the girl he's with now, who seems much, much younger. And they look so different.
They all look different. Doesn't everyone look different?
Yeah,
Bill and Linda, everyone, Elon Musk, who's real, who isn't.
Well, check this out. In doing research for the movie I'm making now, which is The Rise and Fall of the Cabal, I would love to link up with you, Tiana, so you could add some of this amazingness that you're sharing with us, because trip on this. It starts from the year 100 AD to 800 AD, and you learn about the Khazarian Empire that was an oligarch, but there was one very dark ruler, and he had an oligarch of black magic, council of black magic practitioners. So they basically were known for going around pillaging and raping, taking over towns for other powerful leaders, and then doing the same thing, raping, whatever. But they were also very well known for taking the identities of those who traveled through and disguising as them. So they've been doing this Arya Stark many faces kind of thing for this long. And now they're doing it in a way that we're watching, which could be with clones, or it could be with someone wearing one of those skin masks. You know, you see those videos, and they really can pull that off. So I don't know. I still can't say for certain who's on what side. Who's controlling these people? Is Putin controlled by white hats?
I think he is now. I think it would
make sense.
Yeah, it would make sense to think he is now. But the thing, what's really annoying about things to do with Russia is that none of the American or British media ever mention anything to do with Russia, or they don't ever say anything that's true. But the thing is, there's no information on Russia. You know, if you can't even get misinformation on Russia. So it's very hard to do research when you're trying to look into Putin and his real life story. But, you know, there used to be tons of information on the Russian media, from Russian media, but they were already aware that, I think, the last thing that I was saying is that they were already aware that the Putin we see today is obviously not the real Putin, because I actually want to show you a picture. Tell me if that looks like him, because his face is a lot chubbier now.
Can we share screen?
I don't have it on my screen. I'm just going to show you my phone. Here, can you see that? Oh.
Yeah, that's a little blurry. Here, let's find it. We'll find it online and we'll share it.
So 2009 Putin is completely different to Putin now.
Send it to me in the chat.
Okay.
Here, trip on this one. Yeah, I got a good one I can share here.
Gosh, that you cannot. It's pretty much like what Nick said. He looks exactly the way Joe Biden's previous Joe Biden looked compared to what he looks like now. You can tell he really looks like a proper human being. This one, I don't know. He doesn't look human.
Check out the 2010 one and then 2013. You see that?
It's coming.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go.
Goodness. That is not the same person. Absolutely.
Like, so this transformation happened in that year, 2010, which links up because it could have been around 2011. When did you say that this whole thing with the
2010.
10.
Oh,
yeah, 2010.
This is aligned perfectly then, that being the case, because that's when this happened. Look at their noses.
Why does he look younger now? It's very strange.
What's that?
He looks younger now.
Yeah, oh, for sure. He got the Madonna facelift. If he did get a facelift.
I can't wait till you two do your film together.
Right?
That's so much fun.
Tiana and Nick are going to be working on a movie together very soon, right?
I think, you know what, Nick? I think they brought the second Putin in because, obviously, to eradicate all the corruption, the same way in which Trump was sort of placed in power to do in America. But Putin really did make Russia great again, you know, contrary to what a lot of people might believe. He kicked the deep state out of Russia. I mean, I've made a really extensive post about that, where everything he's done, although they do still very much exist today, but more so on the fringe outskirts of Russian and the neighboring countries like Ukraine. But Putin really did, I think, kick the deep state out. And Russia's been flourishing for quite some time ever since. And according to Russian citizens, Russia is now a safe and decent place to live, thanks to Putin 2.0. But, you know, President Trump's been, I think, taking a lot of cues from Putin and what Russia was able to do to free themselves from the Cabal oppression over the past 9 or 10 years. And he banned, remember, I think I talked to Alp about this, but Putin banned the US from adopting children from Russian orphanages because of the pedophilia epidemic. And that's when it became quite obvious that he was cleaning out Russia. And he publicly criticizes the NWO. Not a lot of people do that. They don't have the guts to do that. It takes, need to be really brave to say things like that. And he's come out a few times and said that America is controlled by Satanists, pedophilic Satanists. So,
and they've banned all social media in Russia, right?
Yep. CNN, all the propaganda media outlets completely banned. But there was overwhelming evidence that these Russian children were actually being adopted in droves by these Satanists and high-level Luciferians in all these atheist states to be used in satanic rituals. And when Putin discovered that this was happening to these Russian orphans, he completely shut down the ability for the US to adopt children. And I think that's one of the main metrics by what, I would measure if someone was on the good side or the bad side. And because think about it, why did the Democrats push the Russia collusion hoax so hard? Because I feel like it's because they did everything in their power to impede the possibility of a Trump and Putin alliance, because both leaders are explicitly against the New World Order. So, there's a lot of reason to believe that they were both leading the fight against the NWO together for the first few years.
Yeah, look where Edward Snowden went for protection. He went to Russia, right?
That's true.
And then when you go back, because this is the Khazarian it's the bloodline. The Khazarian bloodline is still trying to destroy America and Russia. True. The Khazarians were known for kidnapping children. Eventually, what happened was all the countries around them were like, "Hey, you guys are out of control, and this needs to stop." So we're enforcing that you choose a religion, and it's one of these three. They chose Judaism, and then they enforced it. Everyone had to become it. And even if you didn't want to, you would learn it so you could fake it. And that's it. They fake it around the world. And they're still doing it today, supposedly from this. I'll send it to you. It's a wild timeline that shows everything monumental that's happened since. But the Khazarians kept doing what they were doing, and they called it secret Satanism. They were doing it behind everything else. And so they kept on finding ways to take children, because mainly it was blood sacrifice. They would eat their heart too. And it's the same thing we're seeing today. Same type of people. And when they were kicked out of their region, they went to what is basically Ukraine. They scattered all throughout. And most of them are still, that's where a lot of it went, when you think about it. And Ukraine's not even a country. It's just part of Russia.
And the funny thing is, people still think that Russia is this communist, horrible country. While I do think communist and leftist movements still exist in Russia, but they no longer really determine state policy. And communism as a state ideology, I think, is officially dead in Russia. Most people who have been there can vouch for that. But gosh, there's so much we don't know. I think we should make a documentary about Putin if we can dig up any information about him, that is.
That's what I'm doing now. Yeah, if you want to join in on this one. Yeah, the rise and fall of the Cabal. Because
so is that going to be a long series of different
episodes? It may be. Once I'm done writing it, I'll be able to find out how many chunks it could be put out in. But it ends up on today's landscape. So there's a common thread with Russia helping out patriots throughout time. Yeah. The war on independence, that would have been lost if Russia didn't bring their navy to block the British forces that were coming. So that's one. And it's kind of cool to see that the Russian emblem, is that the flag or their crest? Maybe it's a flag. Supposedly it's a white hat. Could be a white wig. And it's got a sphere into a reptilian it's like a dragon. Yeah. You've seen it? You've seen it.
Yeah. I've definitely seen it, but I don't remember the intricacies. But yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think. Have you guys heard of there's a really sweet girl that I saw who seems really young. Her name's Kristen Lee, and she does all these tarot readings, and she's been very psychic apparently since she was a child, and she does these readings with her brother Jason on YouTube, and has become quite big since Janine and Jean-Claude recommended her. But I don't know what everyone thinks of things like tarot cards, but apparently they've been a big part of the Illuminati's bag of tools, along with all their other rituals. But they used it, they used to use it for evil and spread the
tarot
image of
cards?
them. Yeah. The Illuminati, like the secret societies, used to use them. But, because that's just to make sure we don't ever think of them in any good light. Like, but they,
how is it used for evil on their end? Because I know how people use it for guidance without evil. How does the evil force use it?
I don't know. I feel like they'd use it the same way for guidance for their evil plans. But I think, of course, they can be useful, and it is entertaining to watch the messages that they give, because this information that we are in an information war, aren't we? And so there's no solid evidence that anyone can provide for so much of what's going on. So I think it's important to have these psychics and be able to cross-reference with all these intuitives that are saying different things. But according to Kristen, there are some Hollywood names like that are not involved with the dark side and have tried to keep away from selling their souls. And I think some of them we could guess were good people like Jim Caviezel, Keanu Reeves, Clint Eastwood. But she also mentioned Woody Harrelson, and then Denzel Washington, Kevin Costner, I think his name, Nicolas Cage, people like Liam Neeson, Matthew McConaughey, Patrick Swayze, and there's someone else. Apparently Patrick Swayze was good before he died a few years ago with cancer.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she even said Tom Cruise was good, but I don't think I believe that one. Something in his eyes.
He's deep in Scientology. It doesn't even
Yeah,
look real.
he is. But she said, however, that Will Smith was not good and had joined the dark cult, and so has Gwen Stefani and her husband, who is it, like Blake Shelton, who's a huge country musician, I think. But it's interesting. I really like her. She's got a really sweet voice. But I don't follow a lot of tarot card readers. Or do you guys follow any like spiritual mediums in this interview, in this movement?
I got tarot card on me. It's the Magician.
Oh, cool. What does that mean, the Magician?
Magician is the beginning, or actually it's the end of the entire arcana. The first one's the Fool, and then everything in the middle are the entire tarot. And so for me, when I got this, the cool thing about this card is he's the Magician. He's got every single element on his card. So he has the cup, the sword, the pentacle, and it's like manifesting as above, so below. So people take this, that when you see Baphomet, they take it in that way too. So it's however you take it, however your soul resonates with it. Because I also got Goddess Isis. People might think, oh my God, that's Cabal.
Cabal.
I have like an alien abducting a person from the pyramids.
That's so colorful.
I
really like that one, actually.
It's Cabal.
Are you going to get a whole sleeve, Nick?
Yeah. I mean, this one's pretty. I just need to fill that in. And then this one, got Alpa there as a goddess.
So cool.
I know.
Alpa, how did you feel? Was it a surprise or?
I would like to point out to one of the comments that someone's just said, Lisa, she says, tarot, just like the pyramids, are tools and can be used for good and evil. I'm in agreement with that. It's both, it's duality, right? So yes, I've heard that tarot cards are used for evil. It's like white magic and black magic.
Yeah.
Someone made a comment there. I can't remember. I just saw it in Fleet. Someone made a
Nick,
comment.
you mentioned on the Charlie Ward show, was it? I think, yes. I don't know. I forgot when you went on it, but I remember that you said something about having an eyewitness for one of the documentaries that you guys were doing, who overheard Melinda Gates talking about her husband loving it in India because apparently he was on a rampage enjoying the kids there. Can you elaborate on that? Because that was really interesting. But I don't think I heard the rest of it.
And I want to share.
You can do that this time, can't you, Nick?
What's that?
I think you can share that now.
I can. Yeah, absolutely. And there was a photo that someone shared with me that I want to share here as I tell this story because it adds to it in many ways. Here, let me just Make sure I can send that to myself here. All right, so we were going to interview somebody for one of our films. The film it just fell through, but if we were going to make a movie with them, I had a conversation with them, and in that conversation, I was told some shit. Here, let me show you this real quick, though. All right. Because of this lady's position, she was able to be in the vicinity of someone who was very close to the Gates family. And the Gates family had hooked her up with a place to stay. And that place to stay was where said assistant was able to go and assist. And so they heard from the mouth of Melinda Gates that Bill Melinda was crying. And I'm sure she was Melinda at this time and not Linda. Because Bill didn't want to move or leave India because he was having too much fun having sex with underage girls.
Was she going to talk about this in the documentary?
Yeah.
Is this what it was about? Wow.
Yeah, she really was. Here, let's see if this shows it. Has lost.
And while you're doing that, Nick, I just want to do what I do normally, is just acknowledge everybody in the chat and acknowledge everyone that's watching. Wherever you're watching, thank you. Wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining Tiana, Nick, and myself. So much interaction with the audience. I love it.
I don't know why it doesn't let me share.
Oh, maybe. Let me do it.
I guess I'm just going to share my whole screen.
Yeah.
You see it? It says Chrome has lost permission to capture screen. Follow these steps. Weird. Oh. Okay, anyway, that's just a picture of Bill Gates with his glasses off. And he just looks like a perv. It's just disgusting. But I can't share it right now. It's okay.
Do I have to give you permission?
I don't know. I don't know with StreamYard. I think it's on my end. It's on my end. Mm.
No worries.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
good line. Amazing. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Oh, I can see the comments. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
The audience is great. They're rocking. Some lovely, lovely comments and interaction and discussions going on across all of them. So thanks.
You know, Simon Parkes did not an interview, I think he just made a video a couple of weeks ago, and I think he's one of the very few people in the movement who's very level-headed, I think. He gives very level-headed opinions about things, and he's very realistic about everything. And I think he said something about, he said it's going to be difficult to hold so many people accountable for, I can't say COVID, right? Clown vid. But the combination of the inoculations and the hospital treatments and everything just did so much damage. But the problem is, like, what do you do about it? Should 30,000 medical professionals be taken to court for manslaughter? Like, or if so, who's going to run the hospitals? I mean, I think he was suggesting something like that level of medical. Sorry, can you hear me?
Look how creepy he looks. Look how creepy. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yuck.
Right? Now where this is what it is. What did my homie say? He said this was taken at a place called Guerrero Negro, traveling under the name Mark St. John, with a woman named Julie St. John. That is kind of shady, right? What's up with that? Why is, I guess when you're famous, whatever, you don't want to travel as, but why that name?
Yeah, it's a very weird alias to have. Gosh, he looks so creepy. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to look that different without just his glasses. Wow.
Yeah, blatantly different. So obvious.
So what I was saying is that, like, how do we deal with this situation? Because how can you send 30,000 or whatever amount of all these medical practitioners to the court, right? Like, what? I don't understand how this is going to happen. How are we going to have all these tribunals, not tribunals, but everyone talks about the Nuremberg trials, 2.0. But how is this going to happen? You can't. What is the metric of whether you're part of the perpetration of this crime, or whether you were just taking orders? Like, I don't understand that. So
how do you qualify this?
Right, exactly, because it's quite tricky. And I think he suggested that the level of medical work, those level of medical workers should just be educated to realize what was wrong with what they did. And we should just actually go after the people who deliberately planned the pandemic. And of course, any doctors who knew exactly what they were doing. But he thinks that this is going to be very difficult and it's going to take years to put right. So, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
People think that there's a lot of medical professions that actually believe the whole rhetoric that's been going on for the last 2 years. They actually believe that the pricks are good for you. They actually have convinced themselves. I mean, look what's going on in the media right now. We've been breadcrumbed. In fact, even more, there's blatant stories coming out about what's happened, the detrimental effects of the jabs, and still the cognitive dissonance from just people you speak to. There's just completely nothing. So that begs the question as to how is this going to evolve, and how, of course, like the people that think it was all true, how are you going to qualify and reprimand them? This is very tricky.
It is. It is. And I think, he said something about how the white hats are not ever going to disclose most of what's going on to the public, because Simon Parkes, actually, I don't know if most people know this, but he held a very high position in local government, and therefore he does have experience, and he's seen how it all works, and he's very skeptical about all the truths that we want to be revealed ever coming out. And if they were, then surely the military tribunals would have been done in public. Maybe not, actually.
No,
but
they can't be done in public.
Yeah, they can't be done in public.
In today's world, you have too many people who have attached their identity to this liberal point of view.
True.
If you see Hillary getting hung by a noose, it's almost like young kids seeing Michael Jackson die, at his prime. It's their fanatical leader, and that would create a civil war. So
but how are you going to tell the general public that Hillary Clinton's dead? When
you slowly show how corrupt they are, and that's why if I were to make an argument from both sides, like white hats are in control or black hats are in control, the one for white hats in control would be they are slowly showing how wrong the public was in thinking Biden was going to be great as president, and then through all the connections that they've had around the world, they're unleashing the facts that can't be denied, the facts that actually turn the power structures of all these mainstream media companies inside out. And that would mean that, because there's a lot of people stepping down right now. Again, CEOs are stepping down like crazy. So also, when you look at little things like SNL just did a skit that was making a lot of fun of these crazy liberals who were all about, this and this. And the guy who's showing this video has a perspective that if they're making fun of it now, they're saying it's over. Because then they want to move on to the next thing and then make you forget about it now. Because if it was the other way around, if they were enforcing it, they wouldn't be making fun of it in that way like they did. They didn't do that for the last 2 years. So if the white hats are in control, they are puppeteering or maneuvering a clone. The things Biden has said are so wild that it could only appear like there's a control team that's saying, make him say some stupid shit about Irishmen. Like it's insane that's happening. So maybe
like one of those dolls. They've got a string up,
right? Like and when he's walking, he's very robotic. Like, oh shit, and like it's very weird watching him maneuver. So I don't know if that's the case. Great. If the black hats are in control, then they've got a clone up there it's dysfunctional. It's not functioning properly. And they're reaching to survive that, and they're leaving messes everywhere behind them and clues for us to see. So it's either one, and it seems like they have to play it out slowly in order to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, that's true. I think we're seeing that happen, isn't it? It's just such a slow drip.
Very slowly.
Molding.
I know.
It's just really sad because then we, the truth, whoever's been speaking about all of this stuff for so long, there's not really ever any sort of vindication. It's just going to be the most unsatisfying "I told you so" in the history of the world.
But this is the death of the ego. You see, I'm noticing, even though there's a lot of truths coming out, and even with I'm going to use the word P, one of the companies that made the jabs, even with those documents coming out, the 9 pages that stated factually the repercussions of taking the jab, and you're presenting that data to people, there is just nothing. So there's that cognitive dissonance, there's that apathy. So, it's how are people responding to the other news? There's nothing. There's just this vacant sense of emptiness, So what we're looking for is that justice. And are we also looking for "I told you so"? See, what is this? This is this justice that we want to see, because it's been painful and emotionally and politically frustrating these 2 years. But this is where I took a back seat from the political side of things, because I thought it was emotionally exhausting. We're speculating and it's theatrics all the way. And, it's very blatant and obvious to us. I mean, you've got 2 people that look different. Okay, what is it? Who are they? Why do they look different? Like in the case of Bill Gates or Putin or some of the other people that, the big names. Why aren't we seeing what we speculated happening in the way that we thought would? So it's too much. If people that we share information with cannot fathom what we're telling them, they're not going to get this. They're not going to understand the interwoven narratives that have been at play. This is what I'm seeing. So, Nick, when he makes his movies, this is why he, really reveals a lot of things, but in a very questioning way. And your stuff, Tiana, I love the stuff. We'll show the Trump video in a bit, but this is what we're here to do. And we can hear and have discussions. If people don't want to believe this, then I think we've learned by now to let it go. And it's a spiritual sort of journey for us as well. We've grown so much in these 2 years. Who's right? Who's not? What's this? My truth, your truth. This is human behavior carrying on, recycled over and over again. So it's to us now, how we kind of transcend in these times, and how we help our brothers and sisters. Those that want to listen will listen. And, we just don't know. But I'm very positive. I do think something's going on. That's the eternal
there's definitely stuff going on. But I think Simon Park said something else that was really interesting. He pointed out very perceptively that while the white hats love what we're doing, I don't think they'll ever support and encourage the truthers to put out too much information about Biden not being Biden, that this is all a movie, or even the truth about the deep underground military bases. Because think about it, if we go around telling the normies that these people are all actors, it sort of undermines the whole game that's being played here, right? So unfortunately, I do agree and believe that none of this will ever come out in the way that we thought it would initially, because imagine if they said that Biden was an actor, if it is officially told that Biden is an actor, then the question will be, well, who's controlling him then? And if he is an actor, who hired him? And there would be such a long trail of questions that would come just because of that one question. So it sort of works.
It did come out in one of Tucker Carlson's shows. Was it Tucker Carlson or somebody else? But they did question, who is this Biden? Is it an actor? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. He openly said it. Here's the theory that I think bridges all that, because there's a lot of questions. If that's so, then people are going to be like, well, come on, explain it. If it isn't explained for us in the flesh by someone in front of everyone ripping off something, then it would be the devolution theory completely provides a backbone as to why we're seeing a stage. Because check it out. Trump's president launches Space Force, 4 satellites go into space. They can check everything. They see that there's a plan to tamper with the election. And you can't even say that shit anymore. Okay, so because of that, it's an act against the country. So and he knew that it was Americans that were planning this. So there are executive orders put in place for the president who is seeing that he's going to be attacked by his own, how to preserve the government, how to carry it through this attempt of a coup from the inside. And in that, the National Security Council, which most presidents have a shitload, the ones with the most success and have done really great, had a small amount. Because when you have a small amount, you have less fighting interest, so you can get everyone on the same page. That was the first thing he had to do, and he figured out that this would be the team that is the link for each essential function of the government to basically let them know that we got to go rogue. We got to keep this government going, but there's a bunch of traitors everywhere. We got to protect it, and this is how. So there's executives that line up how it goes down, and one of them are the essential functions is you have to provide leadership to the country. So if all these folks had already died, say Biden and Hillary, then you would have to provide leadership because it's now shown that they won. You can't just pull the plug and say, nah, because it's going to create a civil war. This is kind of along the lines of how they replaced Paul McCartney. They didn't want the world to go crazy when the most famous musician died. So they preserve everything that they've been doing with it. So they replaced Biden.
Is that a theory you believe, Nick, the Paul McCartney one, that he was replaced? I haven't done any digging into this, but I have heard of it. Is that?
Yeah, I made a movie on it. It's a fantastic movie. It's on Good Line TV. It's called.
I need to watch that.
Still Alive. Yeah.
So what is the final verdict that you think he had been replaced?
I think 100%.
How do you make a copy of that sort of talent? That's what I don't understand.
It's when you watch the movie, you'll get it because they cover all the bases. When I first heard this, I didn't think it was so. And then I found a beautiful YouTube channel with someone who's just been posting evidence, just clips of the slip-ups from Beatles telling stories or their wives talking to the fake Paul. And when,
oh my God, that's so sad. That is heartbreaking.
One of the craziest parts that will make you go, about the music is that look up a band right now called Famous Gypsies. Their grandfather was a studio musician in the 70s, and his kids are now making that music, and that music sounds identical to Paul McCartney in the 70s. So if you connect the dots, other people were writing the music for this Paul McCartney. There's so many angles on it. So replacing people is not a new thing, and it has its benefits. So if the devolution is going through, they're providing fake representation and also waking people up at the same time. Yeah. And eventually, if it is so, we'll have to get some kind of closure.
Yeah. True.
Or Trump just wins in the next election.
Oh, not 2024. That's 2 more years of this. I can't take it. Do you guys feel like cosmically time is really going by really fast? Have you been noticing that at all?
Mm-hmm.
Time is going so fast these days. And this definitely has something to do with this cosmic shift in evolution that humanity is going through. But do you guys ever feel like when you step out of the house, people just don't seem conscious anymore to me? Like everyone acts so brain dead, like with no emotion, no feeling, no expression.
A lot of apathy.
So much apathy. Docile, soulless, right? That's the word. But, everyone's just living unconsciously, which means they go through life just lacking any sort of awareness that there is anything other than the conscious mind. But it's just.
And do you think it's exacerbated now because everyone has gone through 2 years of just nonsense and not really feeling the need to dig deep like we have? And then, of course, they've taken So, how many people got the real ones? You see, one of the debates I have is nothing happened to me. A cousin of mine took it and fell pregnant. And there's a lot of speculation. Of course, we know that affects fertility. But how do you then start justifying yourself with this? We know that there was saline going around. There was a German doctor in one of the articles said that she gave 8,000 patients that. I've got to be careful.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Remember, it made front headline. No one flinched. This is the thing. So so many people were given the false one, but trying to prove that and then hold a conversation is just a different thing. But yes, there has been a change to humanity. People have been fractured.
Yeah, the Cabal masters that. They're really good at fracturing. Yeah.
They've demoralized people a lot.
They have.
Everyone's just in this state of demoralization, and that's the worst state to be in, because there's no sense of deeper level of consciousness that actually drives our behavior at that point. Like, I think it was Freud. Freud said something like, I forget the quote, something like, rather than living our lives, we are lived by unknown and uncontrollable forces, which is what's happening right now. Like, everyone's just living unconsciously.
Oh, yeah. No one even knows they're in the matrix. Like right now, I think, in my view, and a few others around America, and maybe even Trump, that the biggest revolution that could happen right now is people getting hip to the fact that we're sovereign individuals that are playing in a make-believe game of government, that once we educate ourselves enough and we have the right vernacular and understanding, we can use that like a freaking sword. And there's no irony. That sword, you mix it around and it's words, same letters. And that's what you use against this force that is taxing everybody based off of an invisible dead entity. All of us are attached to the crown. That's the truest revolution that I think we'll ever be able to pull off, is when we all become declared sovereign individuals. They won't have power anymore. That's like the biggest matrix that they put over our faces.
Can you imagine if, like, in America, 300 million people just stopped paying their taxes? What would they do? But it's so sad, because, Nick, you're lucky you're American. There's so much going on over there. Here in England, it's just dead here. The best thing to do in the UK right now is to just leave. That's the only thing.
I think, having gone to America, we've got it easy.
Really? But I'm just saying, there's a lot happening there politically. Do you know what I mean? There's not much happening here.
But it's a complete different energy. And that's when I really appreciate the UK, to be fair, because, we've been sat here, doing our thing and doing these shows. But when you're on ground in LA, for example, there's a huge contrast between, people who are awake and not. And it's evident that they're, really bought into this whole narrative. People still go around. There's still masked Nazis everywhere we go. It's crazy. We nearly got kicked off a flight. I've been kicked off a flight. It's pedantic over there. Here, it's not.
LA is terrible.
Yeah. People just choose to enslave themselves here in the UK. Like, there's no mandate for anything, but you'll still get half the population still wearing their masks. And I just really want my generation in this country to get excited and invested in being socially engaged with the institutions of good governance, which obviously means addressing political and cultural issues. But I feel like the young, like my peer group, are so unaware of how.
Yes, tell us about that, Tiana. Tiana, for your age, I mean, you're just incredibly smart and aware, and of course comes with that the consciousness and your spiritual inner standing. But like, how is it for you with your generation? Because I said this to you from day one. I'm your biggest fan. Every time Tiana gets the video, I ask Nick, I'm like, just look at her. She's my little baby sister. But for your generation, you've really led the way, definitely. But how do you find it? Like, it's claustrophobic.
It feels quite lonely in terms of not having enough people in my generation because there are actually a lot more people in America that are my age in this war and on the front lines actually speaking up about things. But this is exactly what my motive was when I first started all of this, was just to get people my age more engaged and caring about our, matrix overlords. But I feel like the young are just very unaware. Most of my friends are it's all about seeking pleasure. Every moment is about seeking pleasure. I just feel like we're going down a path of extreme hedonism. And I see that I see it every single day in all my friends. I'm not trying to look down on them or anything, but I'm just saying that, as a society, we need to slowly free ourselves from this hedonistic culture of pursuing instant gratification, because it's detrimental to our evolution as humanity if we're always led by our primal desires, you know. And I think it's in Buddhism, Taoism. I did philosophy at uni, and I remember studying Buddhism, Taoism, Stoicism, and they all had this one thing in common, which was they all stated that pleasure is not really synonymous with happiness, right? So hedonism is like about pursuing pleasure, it's the constant seeking of pleasure, and Stoicism is about pursuing life by seeking virtue. And the biggest mistake we make the biggest mistake I see people make, and I make myself sometimes, is that we often confuse happiness with pleasure. And most notably, I think our nervous system seems to have been designed for pursuing pleasure and completely avoiding pain. But this is what Sigmund Freud, I think, calls the pleasure principle. And, you know, this temporary, it's a very temporary, fleeting nature of pleasure, which means we're constantly chasing it, and we're restlessly driven to seek new pleasures, which are equally fleeting in return. So I don't know. I think pleasure in its truest form is just the chemical expression of dopamine, and dopamine, much like the ego, is never satisfied. It's the molecule of more. So I don't know. It's very hard. Like, I think the way to become enlightened, and what I would want my peer group to do, is just to purge ourselves of our attachment to pleasure or to any source of satisfaction that triggers distress in seeking to make it permanent, if that makes sense, which, you know, brings us to understanding the impermanence of satisfaction. But, you know, I could go on about this forever.
I love it.
Look, they'll get there. Your peers are going to get there. And it's good, because there's a lot of souls being incarnated now on this planet. And if they didn't have the opportunity of being thrown into a world that was obsessed with pleasure, it might take them a little longer to learn some of the things they've come here to learn. But you've caught on quick. And there's a lot of people who catch on quick because we're old souls. But we're seeing all these other young ones get caught up in this thing where some of them die because of it. People OD or whatever. So it is sad to see it. And sometimes you really want to help, but you don't know how. You know, when you've gone to a place and you really want that one person to get there, maybe it's, you know, we're supposed to experience that as a lesson in itself.
That's true. Like, just letting go and not wanting to control things so much.
Right?
Yeah, that's definitely
something. We're looking at it from a soul level. We've signed up for the scripts that we've chosen these journeys, I believe, anyway. And the younger generation, even a younger generation than yours, Tiana. I was speaking to a friend of mine, and what's quite worrying at times is this whole cancel culture and you know, gender swapping in the schools, because it is very real, and it's here in the UK. It's definitely there in the US. And I was having a conversation with this friend, and you know, girls are liking girls in schools, and they're trying to normalize all of this. This is when I started becoming horrified, because I don't really interact with teenagers, and it was like, I was very much like, oh my God, this is actually happening. You know, they are trying to normalize pedophilia. They're talking about it. They're having discussions. And up until now, I thought it wasn't happening. So the conversation went like, one of her daughter's friends started, like, only 11. And it's like, you don't have to worry about guys liking her, about other girls.
My God, that's so young.
Narratives have been subliminally pushed to the youth to make it acceptable, to normalize it. And can you see how they've done it? It's so clever.
It's so clever.
I don't mean that in any negative way, but it is clever how they've done it to, you know, bring in this social acceptance for it. And if you
to a point where everyone embraces it. It's not even that they just accept it.
It's with everything. They've done that with the George Floyd narrative, the Ukraine, this whole cancel culture, and it's, you know, swimming its way everywhere. And it is worrying. And how do we stop that?
Right.
How do we stop it? How do we stop this? There's literally another friend of mine. She said, my 3 children were the only 3 children that fought in the whole school not to wear masks, up against the teachers, up against everyone. They were always called in. And of course, she's supporting them all the way.
It's so hard. My 15-year-old sister's at school over here, and we'll talk sometimes, and she tells me things about her friends, and she says, she's 15, mind you, her friends are all, she was saying that it's sort of default to be bisexual now. Everyone's bisexual. That's the default sexuality. So you have to actually come out and say that you're straight. Otherwise, people just assume you're bisexual. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. There's a way where we can defeat this kind of injustice in a similar way that schools were being enforcing children to wear it. A group of people got together, Bonds for the Win. I don't know if you know about this yet. I'm going to share it right now because, again, this is in a way using words as a sword. So it's a weapon, and it's been discovered. And now that it has been, let's see here. Where is it? I'm going to walk you through what it is exactly.
Yeah, bisexual is the thing everyone wants to be. It's so crazy.
It's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a cool
I'm just reading all the comments. I just want to thank everybody for, interacting and really participating in our conversation. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
There we go. Let's build this out. This is Bonds for the Win. Alpa, are you going to share it?
Yeah, it hasn't come up yet.
Oh, it hasn't come up?
No, I think there's a bit of a delay, so it should come up in a few minutes because that's what happened with the other one. Oh. But yeah, this bisexual stuff is definitely a thing in all the schools.
I'm just reading the comments. They're so cute.
I know. Really nice. We've got like almost 500 people in the chat. It's nice across all the platforms.
All right, here we go.
There we go.
All right. If Bob does not act in your best interest, you can file a complaint, blah, blah, blah. Check it out. Surety bonds provide financial guarantees that bondholders, such as public officials, companies, contractors, or unions, will uphold their contracts according to mutual terms. Surety bonds protect we the people from fraud and malpractice. When a bondholder breaks a bond's terms, the harmed party can make a claim on the bond to recover the losses. There are 3 parties included in a bond agreement. The bondholder, which is all elected public officials, teachers are required to be bonded, and they must sign an oath to uphold the Constitution of their state. Actually, not teachers, as well as the Constitution of the United States for America. Companies, contractors, and even unions, there we go, are also required to have a surety bond. We, the people, that's the community for whom the bondholder is obligated to serve. We're actually serving them more so. So this is us flipping the switch. Surety bond company. So this is the company that guarantees that the bondholder will serve the people. They've been flexing this type of I guess, attack or defense or offense, however you want to call it, and getting mandates lifted. Because now you're starting to hurt them where it hurts the most, and that's in their wallet. And when you do that, so it's working. This whole entire mirage of power is going away. Yeah. The more educated you get.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to happen slowly but surely at some point.
We have to take action, though. This is the thing. If we talk about sovereignty, we have to start.
Yes.
So I attended a lot of workshops. I was last year, in all the sovereignty classes. How to get yourself almost like diplomatic immunity, and then they stop. But a lot of the people have started. I've even got the paperwork. I mean, it is tricky because you can't make a mistake. But Nick's done a couple of shows. Everyone, I definitely go on Good Lion TV. If you're on my channel, and watch Nick's latest 2 podcasts with a guy called Anil and remind me the other gentleman's name. Matthew.
Phenomenal, and Neil's phenomenal. My gosh. What Matthew dropped, thank you. What Matthew dropped was huge, was massive. Like to continue with what you just said, how we all need to take action. He says that one of the people behind Bonds for the Win, it was on Trump's council. And when Trump left office, supposedly, he told them, I signed 4 executive orders. It's in the people's hands now. That means we do have to act. And that the way for it to ripple out is for us to learn that there is a way out of this matrix.
Yeah.
Paper.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are making more of a conscious effort to even move off the grid, because I've seen quite a few people now, big truther accounts, talk about possibly shifting, just getting up and moving to somewhere that. But the thing is, like, the problem with getting off the grid is, like, are you ever really off the grid? Even if you do decide to move somewhere completely remote, far away from the clutches of the cabal, it's hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. I want to show Tiana's. Are we ready for the Trump video?
Yep. Yep.
All right. Give us 2 seconds. Let's go. So I hope you're all enjoying it. And this video is of Tiana talking about Trump.
Trump will one day go down as one of the greatest leaders in history. He has brought a visionary urgency to problems. He was an outsider, but a game changer in the political arena. He accomplished everything he said he would, and he did it in record time. He even kept every campaign promise. Things like making America energy independent. He vowed to cut taxes and bring manufacturing jobs back to America. Trump was right when he said America needs strong leadership to maintain good relations with foreign leaders.
Under Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under Biden, Russia invaded Ukraine. I stand as the only president of the 21st century on whose watch Russia did not invade another country.
Trump was right when he said energy prices would go through the roof under the Biden administration.
And you're paying, what, $2 a gallon for your gasoline? That's okay. If Biden got in, you'd be paying $7, $8, $9. Then they say, get rid of your car.
Let's not forget that if Trump was in office, this would have been Trump's fault. But of course, when Biden is in office, it's Russia's fault. Trump was right when he said it was the Hillary Clinton campaign behind the Russia collusion hoax, and that it was indeed Hillary Clinton spying on Trump. While Democrats worked overtime to try and impeach Trump over an utter lie. Trump was right when he said HCQ saved people's lives from COVID-19.
Hydroxychloroquine? I'm taking it, hydroxychloroquine. Right now, yeah. A couple of weeks ago, started taking it. Because I think it's good. I've heard a lot of good stories.
And the mainstream media ridiculed him for promoting baseless, unproven treatments. Trump was right when he said the virus came from a Chinese lab. Trump was right about the security issues at the southern border.
There is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
There has been a record surge in illegal immigrants attempting to cross the border. Border Patrol agents arrested a convicted murderer and a convicted child sex predator after they crossed the border illegally. They also recovered a 5-year-old boy who was traveling all alone with no parents, just a birth certificate. This isn't a surprise to anyone who's aware of the tremendous levels of human trafficking that these open borders allow. It's not shocking that Joe Biden outright lied during the presidential debate.
If this is true, then he's a corrupt politician. Right. So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody. President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
From hell.
That what he's accusing me of is a Russian plan. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And that's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Gentlemen,
Russia. You have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President?
again with Russia.
To call Biden a criminal. Why is that?
He is a criminal. He's a criminal. He got caught. Read his laptop. And you know who's a criminal? You're a criminal for not reporting it. You are a criminal for not reporting it. Let me tell you something. Joe Biden is a criminal, and he's been a criminal for a long time. And you're a criminal in the media for not reporting it.
But guess what? Trump was right about Hunter Crackhead Biden's laptop from hell. Even though the legacy media claimed that this was a Russian conspiracy. The New York Times now admits the legitimacy of Trump's claims. So Trump was pretty much right about everything. And very few people actually realize that this biblical war has existed for thousands of years. And in this eternal war between good and evil and darkness and light, Trump is playing a vital role. He's helping to change our lives in ways that we just do not understand yet. So I put to you, which side of history will you be on? The side that is vanquished or the side that will prevail? Oh, and one more thing. Trump was right when he said,
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser. Everything woke turns to shit, okay? It's true.
just wait till you all find out that he was right about the 2020 election. It's so funny.
I've watched it. I've sent it to my dad. I've sent it to everyone, and nobody responds. Nobody responds. Nobody. Next.
It's just crickets. But it's so funny when Biden says, "No one calls me a corrupt politician." He's so confident. He's just so confident. It's so funny. I love that debate clip.
Yeah,
That was
crushed it there. That was so good. Yeah, you just gotta send it to everyone. I mean, liberals will watch it, and maybe 20% will go, "Okay, he's right," but he's an asshole.
It's silly.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
But for those who
Silly.
watch it and go, "Yeah, you know what? You're right." Those are the beautiful. I love those people.
Yeah, I love those people.
There's a lot
I
of
don't
them.
get a lot of them.
I do now because when I had the ankle monitor, I would have a reason to bring up all this stuff. So I'd go to the airport. They'd be like, "Oh, what'd you do, man?" And I'd be like, "Well," and then I'd tell them, and they'd be like, "What the fuck?" And most of them were on Team Trump, but were previously on Team Biden because it's been so long that they've seen all the inadequacies between what they say is true and then what actually is. People are starting to. It's weird, man. Like, actually, I went to the weed shop not long ago, and I asked the weed tenders, the bartenders of weed, if they knew what was going on in Canada with the trucks and shit. They had no clue. So I know it goes against one of the things I just said, but it's true. The landscape out there, some people just don't even know what's going on at all.
Yeah.
People are like 10 years from now going to be like, "Wait, what? All that was happening and I didn't even notice? I was just watching sports and eating chicken wings. What the fuck?" Like, yeah, this is biblical, historical shit. Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so fun to watch how all of this goes down in the history books. That's going to be fun to read.
Tiana, Trump's going to watch that video for you. I'm convinced. I've shared it, and I've told everybody to share it. Right, Nick?
I've already seen it. It's fantastic. I'm inviting you to the White House when I take it back.
Oh my God, that's so good. I've actually never heard Nick's Trump impression before. That is so good.
Is it good?
You need to do a skit, Nick, of you pretending to be Trump.
I mean,
every day.
It's great. It's a great idea. Yeah, I did that in jail. I was like on-demand humor for people.
Yeah.
Trump again, bro? Can you do Trump and Obama?
The Nick doll. The Nick Obama doll.
The Nick doll. I want to be in the history books, though, for sure. I want to see the picture of Rotunda. Me smoking weed under that Capitol Rotunda.
That's a cool picture, isn't it?
I hope that makes it in the history books, man. They'd be like, this filmmaker, who is equivalent to a wartime videographer, was making a film every week and following the steps of the fall of the Cabal. But on his journey, he made it to the Capitol, and he smoked out 7 individuals with 7 joints, including himself. Took it to the dome, under the dome.
That are you not making merch yet? I think you should be on everything.
I will now, because the judge was like, he's like, I think you did this so you could capitalize on it. And I was like, capitalize?
Oh my God. That was so retarded.
Yeah, and then I spoke up in defense. I'm like, people don't come and watch my films because I smoked weed at the Capitol. They came and watched films before. They came and watched films after. Because you're judging me now, regardless of my words, you're putting your opinion over my truth that I did this for money. Well, now I'm gonna do it and milk it for money. And I'll sell shirts that have that image of Rotunda, pay for my legal fees. Boom. If you want to judge me as it, I will be it. Please, sir.
Yeah. How can a judge ask something? Like, how can they even presume? That's such an insipid comment to make.
Oh, even the prosecutor at one point. Oh, yeah. For people that didn't know, I got sentenced. I didn't have to go back to jail. The prosecution, U.S., were like, Your Honor, we want him to have 45 more days because it'll send a good message to everyone out there. And he's like, you know what? If we give him 45 more days when he's out, that's it. There's no probation, so we won't be able to keep an eye on him. And she's like, well, Your Honor, he does 8-hour podcasts. So it's going to be real hard.
Make sure she's in the audience. She heard it all.
She's like, how are we going to, it's a lot of time to catch a lot of misinformation. It's going to be difficult. Misinformation that's now true,
so funny.
Labeled and people lost their channels for, but now is true. That's what they call misinformation. So it was weird. It was a dark vibe. I was just
inverted.
I was just like bowing to the judge, like, just get me out of here. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
So I don't remember what you said. We don't know how long your probation is, right?
It's for 2 years. If everything's good and kosher and I'm a good boy, it's 1 year. Along the lines, I'm going to do my own homework, if you know what I mean, and unplug. But yeah, it would be 1 year, 200 hours of community service, which was our idea because we thought maybe I'd go back to jail and that would be the thing that won the judge over in his opinion. But in his judgment, he came there with already his mind made. And that was basically what I knew was going to happen, but I prepared for the worst.
Oh my God. 2 years. How long until you can actually start traveling?
Well, I could probably now. I think once I pay my court fee, which isn't big, it was $500. That's actually, they said $500 for damages. It goes to the architect of the Capitol. Weird, right? But I think that's one of the only ways they could legitimately get you in trouble is if there's damage in according to their constitution. But I most likely can travel. I was able to travel before. I was able to, except overseas. That's what we're waiting on.
Okay. So very soon, hopefully. Can't wait till you come here. It's going to be so much fun. Have you been to England before? Ever?
I'm going to go there tomorrow. I want to eat a croissant. That's the first thing I want to do when I get there is just go order like 3 croissants and some coffee.
Yeah, definitely.
How you say it?
I would do croissant.
I don't know.
Croissant. Croissant. It's like the T doesn't exist. Croissant.
Croissant.
Oh, what was I accused of? I got charged for parading in the Capitol. Parading.
Oh my goodness. Parading.
You organize a parade. You don't just like show up and it's a parade. You organize a parade.
And did you watch the video, Tiana? Did you watch what he filmed? Because they didn't
I don't
use
think so.
evidence initially. They tried to kind of frame somebody else's information. That was just hideous. I was actually
yes.
I haven't.
So I got to see the U.S.'s statement of facts, and in there on page 4, they had an image, and they said this is from his camera. As you can see, there's a cop taking down a person in front of him. This implies he was in the first wave and that he knew what he was doing was wrong, and he went against police force. When I saw that picture, I knew right away it was not from my camera. I've got the whole thing. It's all one take. So I brought that in as evidence and showed the judge. And it shows me even turning the camera and looking at myself. It's completely true. So when we're in the courtroom, they went over that for a second. She was like, Your Honor, yeah, it looks like the evidence we put in there was incorrect, and you should go with the evidence that they supplied. No penalty. If I didn't have it, that would have been their A game, and they would have just flexed on that. But now, because I proved them wrong, they just, oh, Your Honor, yeah, just look at theirs instead. We were wrong. Fucked up.
Disgusting. All of these people need to die. I hate them.
The extreme now, Tiana. Take consciousness and breathe.
Okay, fine. Let's just do a breathing exercise now.
It's crazy. It's the cool thing is interviewing these sovereign folks. The thing that got them sovereign was interactions with the government that blew them away. When justice was completely not served and their power was abused, like with a nil and this DUI when he wasn't even drinking. And then my homie, who was Matthew, who was asked to get out of his car, and he said no. And then they forcefully removed him. And because the cop, his knee touched the ground, they charged him with a felony because he was hurting the cop because the cop fell trying to remove him from a car for a plate. I mean, these little things led people to do bigger, great things. So right now, I'm making a movie on becoming sovereign.
Do you know a lot of the other people that you were in jail with? Are you in contact with any of them? Have they?
Yeah, one in particular, Jonathan Mellis, he's still in there. His girlfriend reaches out, gives me messages that he's got. And man, there's a whole world of drama happening in that place. It's like a movie. Some people are against each other in there. Some people are there. They're not sure if they're Antifa or not. Some people that are in charge of the fundraising for all their legal fees are not actually paying the legal fees. Like it's drama central at the Gitmo DC.
Yeah, and then there's the public perception of the whole January 6th. You know, the worst crime committed in American history. I mean,
worse than 9/11.
The whole thing was even both my lawyers at one point were like, yeah, man, you were caught up in almost like a sting operation. And then it was almost both sides knew what both sides were up to. And so you had two really important things happening on that day. Some didn't take off and some did. There was a Pelosi laptop that was taken, recovered. Yeah. And there were people there who were like, we're not with the rally, who had these, backpacks underneath them. And then you had the Ashley Babbitt thing, which didn't even look real. A lot of people are behind it because they know their family. You could be getting fooled by their family. The whole thing. And then the FBI agent that was there at the beginning, Ray Epps. I wanted to bring him up in the court, but I couldn't. John Sullivan is the leader of Insurgents USA, was also at the front line at the time where we were all still waiting for Trump, or actually Trump was just ending. So evident. Hopefully one day we all know, and all the folks that are in jail get compensation.
Yeah. But there is resentment towards Trump at how he's handled this.
Oh, absolutely. I think I've heard this a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I was getting a bit despondent at one point as well, because it's the suffering of these individuals and the innocent ones. Women that just came to drop their children off. Apparently, Nick tells me that they also got charged. And so many innocent people are behind bars. So it begs the question of, okay, fine, the psychological impact that these people will be going through. Nick, you were there for 45 days. You had a resilience. You've turned it around. You turned the crisis into a blessing. It's the irony that you happen to be on Godwin Street. You're in prison for 45 days. And there's kind of a lot of biblical stuff happening with Nick here and what he's doing, the message that he's conveying through his work. So this crisis has turned into an opportunity. And I say this with respect to Nick, a gift as well, to, share his knowledge and his creativity by telling the truth, or all the research that we have done and giving the world different narrative. And Good Lion is growing from strength to strength with the intention of that. So if, when you both get together and do something, it is for the greater good, to educate people, to have a different perception, or to at least explore a different view. And so what happened with Nick was he's turned it all into a positive, but my heart goes out to the innocent other people that are there that don't have a channel or a big following or anything like that. And where's the support? I mean, the guy that's in there already, the girlfriend you speak to, he goes through torture.
Oh, I know, man. Oh, it's sad. They can't shave, so all their hair's long. It's a moldy environment. Doesn't look good at all. They've complained many times. The only thing they did when they answered the complaint was they moved, what was it, 60 inmates to another bay, but they weren't even the Capitol's riot or protesters. Like nobody who was affected who made it known.
God.
Ryan Sampson got speed. Someone broke their jaw on their orbital bone. Someone recently was doing a protest, not eating, and I think they made it to 12 days, and they couldn't keep going, so they had a smoothie. And like they want the world to understand. And what's crazy is when the judge was talking to me, he's like, "I've seen you on some podcast, and I hear what you're saying, and seems like you think there's a lot of injustice going around, but you were let
out properly."
Yeah, he's like, "You were let out, so there is a due process, and it is working." Yeah, is it though? Is it when I'm going around from cell to cell at the DC, and I'm like, "Hey, man, are you good? What's your story? I think I'm gonna get bond," and they're like, "Nah, man, you're not gonna get bond. Why not?" I was in Florida, bro, and I was waiting my turn. Someone was in front of me getting their appeal, their bond, and he molested a 13-year-old sexually, and they gave him bond. And then this guy goes up, who's at the Capitol, and they're like, "Nope, you're a danger to society, so you're going to jail." So that was in Florida even as well.
My God.
This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. If I could have spoken up towards the judge, that's where I'm speaking from, is that we're treated as terrorists when really I just walked in there. I walked in there, the doors were open. I smoke weed. I'm a medical marijuana patient, and it's legal to do it here. It's legal to do it in DC. Weed wasn't even in the charges. They say it's legal, yet they didn't charge me ever for it. So this is all a game of words. It's all a game of words and turds. Words and turds, and we know who the turds are.
And they love that authority over people, don't they? I see that a lot. People love that bit of power that they get, and they love abusing it. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So it's just, but hopefully we can expect a documentary at some point with all these people that you were with.
100%.
Right? That would be amazing to watch.
There's going to be a big one when, think about it, there's going to be a time where the 60 to 80 of us that were in there are out. Yeah. And we're all going to have to get together and talk about it. And
the HBO documentary was a complete misrepresentation of what happened.
In a way, yeah, because it showed a lot of the dangerous aspect of it, where I think that was 10% of people's experience there. The tunnel. 10% of people were actually getting very physical in trying to protect people who were getting hurt, whether it was cops or Trump supporters. But for the most part, people were not engaged in violence. So I like that.
There's out there.
Yeah, they're the ones with the new MAGA hats. The freshies, those ones, actors.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Psyops all the way.
Psyops all the way. I think what they wanted to do is get us so pissed that, a Trump supporter just died when Ashley Babbitt got shot, and then burn the building down to enrage us in order to break the law even further. But it shows that we weren't there for the reasons they assumed. We weren't there to cause damage. We were there to fix something internally, and that's the corruption in the system that we were all hip to. That's it. We're in jail for speaking up for the truth. Some people were there for hurting cops, and I disavow that. I don't think it's a smart thing to do. But in the heat of the moment, I would have flexibility in how I judge other people. Because when you're in the heat of the moment and you see a woman getting beat up by a cop, what are you going to do? You're most likely going to help that woman, whether it's a cop or not.
Yeah.
That's what happens to people.
So, Nick, do you have a lot of footage from that day, or is it just a little bit?
Oh, I got it all, because the reason why I even climbed into the Capitol was I knew I had to film it all. It's like, shit, I'm filming this all. I turned around, looked at my friend, and I was like, dude, you're either with me or not. I'm going. I filmed the whole thing, and I put it on Dropbox. They confiscated my phone when they got me, so they assumed that I didn't have a copy of all this footage. when I got out of jail, I still don't have the stuff they took from me, but I had it on Dropbox. So I was able to go back and look at everything and use it in my with my lawyer in order to get 4 felonies or 4 misdemeanors reduced, because it started off with 2 felonies. They came at me with SWAT, and then it was 4 misdemeanors for a while. And then once I got pretty snappy with my lawyer and I said, hey, I know about Black's Dictionary. I know what you guys are doing and how much money you're making off of my bonds. And they immediately after that email, they came back with, here's a plea deal for 1 misdemeanor.
Wow.
To it. I'm like, oh shit. They don't want a trial because I have all the evidence, and they're shocked that I do, because everything that they're saying on there for those 4 misdemeanors wouldn't apply. I didn't break in. There was no break in. The door was open. And you guys left it open. So yeah, there's all these little things that if I would have gone to trial, it would have been a bigger show, and I wasn't ready for that. I'm going to be somewhat of a good boy, but I got it all. Yeah, it's incredible.
I'm so excited to see all of that. Are you allowed to put out a documentary? Yeah, if you did decide to put a mini one out.
I did. It was the first thing I did right when I got out of jail.
And they took it off YouTube straight away.
Pervywood 9 Volume 2 and 1 are the ones I made right when I got out of jail. So it talks about the NWO and their agenda, transhumanism. And then Volume 2 is House of Frauds, which basically shows the key representatives who presented facts on what happened on the election day and how it all adds up to what they are all presuming. And then it shows the birth of Brotunda, which is a section. It's the whole footage that I got from when I went in, and it's you pick up a good vibe when you're watching it. You see that there's people cheering, there's people who are just happy. No one's really hurting anybody, and there's even cops walking around, and you're like, that cop is not stopping anybody. He's just walking around. Yeah, I mean, it was intended that way. It was all intended.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, I mean, that's the thing. People just need to see the footage and then they'll realize it's such it just breaks down their narrative completely.
Let me show people how to find it, because people are asking.
Yeah, that's a given. Tiana, you've had so many people loving you. I just want to acknowledge that. And everyone has really appreciated that. Thank you for the beautiful comments that people have been sharing and just interacting. And I love this, engaging with each other. Such a positive chat across all platforms. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And thank you for appreciating Tiana and Nick's work. You know, it's really, really appreciated.
Thank you. That's so lovely. Yeah, I can see them.
Oh, you want me to keep sharing? Oh, I wasn't.
Yeah. Carry on. Yeah. No, it's been I was going to stop it at an hour like I normally do, but we've had a really good show. Been going on for an hour and a half.
Here's good lying. That was how you subscribe. But when you're on the home page, this is kind of like, the interesting thing is there's no search feature. Because there's no search feature, I cannot be searched. And that is a good and bad thing because of the content, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's a bad thing because people have to learn how to maneuver. And so it's its own game, so to speak. All these are channels you get access to. That's Good Lion Films, the Pervywood series, Lion Disclosure. These are all under the payment exclusive celebrities, movies based around celebrities. And then here's my homie Lewis, who's also been a producer of many films. So you can watch a lot of the material on here for absolutely free. There's like 400 plus Red Pill documentaries if you enter the Red Pill Cinema.
Oh, wow.
But if you want to get Good Lion Films and all that, that's where you pay a buck a week, $4 a month, $48 a year. But yeah, usually there's 2 films I make a month. Sometimes I take a month break. But yeah, this is where you can send anybody you want a Red Pill. You want to talk about Jordan Maxwell and sovereignty and a lot more.
Jordan Maxwell died today, right?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Gosh, that's yesterday?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that. God,
yeah, he was today.
Yeah, he passed away. And then there's Spiritual Den and the Wealth Den. These are a bunch of other channels with types of genres regarding to spirituality and then wealth. And so you can just go on here for a while. It's got a lot of stuff. So I
So
encourage
rabbit
you.
hole and a half.
Yeah. And then also one thing I haven't taught people is like there's searchability in certain areas where you see this square. That's the only way it's happening on the site for now. But yeah, if you want to subscribe, you can click there and you can be an investor, join the Good Lion Mug Club, or go yearly.
Yeah. Nick, what is the Paul McCartney documentary called?
That one's on the front page, and it's called Paul is Dead. I renamed it on a release. Let me show you. It's very colorful, just so you can. I'll send you the VIP login so you can have the experience as well.
My goodness, I'm so scared to watch that documentary. I'm going to watch it tonight.
It's a Good Lion film, and I put it right here. The Paul McCartney Conspiracy, Paul is Dead. This is it right here.
Oh.
Yeah. So, yeah. I know.
Not ready.
You're going to trip out on that because it really makes you wonder if they could do that with Paul. Who else could they do that with?
The fall of Paul.
Yeah, that's what I'm not ready for.
Well, we're looking forward to your collaboration, both of yours.
I'm ready whenever Nick needs me. I'm here.
Songs. Yeah, no, definitely. We've been talking about that, and I think it's going to be amazing. Two very intelligent and creative individuals coming together. And again, this is all for the greater good. The intentions are pure. It's not easy, this battle. It really isn't. It's been emotionally taxing, emotionally frustrating, but each and every single one of you has fought this battle in your own way, but whatever way you've been doing it. I salute you, I love you, and I thank you, because every day somebody's waking up, every single day, be it from Nick's movies, be it from Tiana's videos, being it my 2 pence worth, my posts or whatever, all of you collectively sharing it, contributing and taking that action every single day. 2 years, I know we can feel despondent, and at times throughout this conversation, things do seem worrying, but I implore all of you again, Tiana mentioned like staying in your own consciousness, staying within practicing your own spirituality every day, whichever way that is. I'm no guru or anything like that, but to connect with like-minded individuals as well, because this is a journey. This wasn't going to be an overnight fix, and all of us learned that in these 2 years. We speculated. Of course, we want justice. Of course, we want to see the evil being taken down. But this is the dismantling of such a corrupt system. And you said that this goes back to this Khazarian mafia. I'd like to share something else. This goes back to about the child trafficking, about eating children. Predates back to the Vedas, the Rig Vedas. It goes back where, we in the Rig Vedas, where the Cabal or the devils are called the Rakshasas, where they ate their own children. It's a bit like the snake eating their own children, right? This Sabbatarian bloodshed has been going on for a long time. We're fooling ourselves if we think it's just in this last, few hundred years. But it's acknowledging it, that it's existed. Now this is a time in humanity like no time before, where we've had this opportunity to really do this. So Tiana, what you're doing, Nick, what you're doing, everyone who is just getting together and assisting, we have made traction, definitely. I think we have. I feel good seeing the things that we see in the media. People feel like, well, no one's listening, no one's that. Okay, people will meet you as far as they've met themselves. And also it's the death of the ego here. I was wrong, huh? People don't want to admit that. Let's be honest. God, who bots? Richard, some weird bots coming.
I see that.
What's going on? Hot girls. Sorry about that. Ronnie. So yeah.
Wow.
No, I completely agree. I think we're all just playing our own part, and everyone should really just work on, even myself, just working on making the unconscious conscious, because that's all we can do, like stop letting our subconscious mind dictate all our behaviors, and really become conscious again. Because I think Carl Jung was the one who said something like, one of my favorite quotes is, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, which is what most of us do most of the time. So it's all a learning curve.
We want you again on the show. Definitely.
I'm here for you guys. I'm here whenever you need me. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, though. It was such a lovely chat. I haven't spoken to Alpin forever, but it was good. I think we got a lot out.
Yeah, we did. We've connected nicely, and I look forward to the next one. Hope you have a good night, right? It's nighttime over there.
Yeah, it's not too late though, but thank you guys.
Thank you. And thank you everyone that's joined on Nick's channel, on Facebook, on my YouTube. Don't forget to like and share wherever you're watching this, please. This was a really beautiful, poignant chat. We covered so many different things and it's been effortlessly flowing. And yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.